Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today on Stencil and a Stamp, I'm going to make some Christmas because it's July. So it's Christmas cards in July. I'm going to start with the Nordic Snowflake from Tailored Expressions. And then I've pulled out a couple of stamp sets that I recently picked up at my local scrapbook store's garage sale. I'm using Holiday Florals and Hand Lettered Holiday, both by Tailored Expressions. I believe this one is retired. I don't know if Hand Lettered Holiday is still available or not. But you can use what you want, use what you have. I am going to use guava ink on some craft cardstock and my blending brush. And I'm going to use some shimmer spray and some confetti. So let's get started. I started by just purple taping down my stencil on some craft. I made a few cards today using the stencil, and I'll show them to you at the end. But I just go ahead, I wanted to see what the guava would look like on the craft, just to make a little bit different Christmas card, not your black and white or your red and green on white, types of things like this. So I thought these kind of looked a little bit like poinsettias, and the guava is a little bit of a different red, so it's not the Christmas reds. It just gives it a little bit different look. And I tend to hold my blender brushes up towards the top, especially if I'm trying to get a little bit of a darker coloring in. If I want a light color, then I would use it more down here, but I tend to have more control with the darkness over them. I have the Tailored Expressions blender brushes, excuse me. I have actually two sets. I was given a set as a gift by in a class I took with Taylor at Junkie Fest last year, and then last year at Stamp Joy I bought a second set, and my original set I have made over to use for my distressed oxides. I don't know if it's a big deal, but I like to keep them separate just because they're a different type of ink. I also use those for my pigments, where these I only use for dye inks. And every once in a while, if you get like one that's kind of stiff, you just rub your finger over it. And to clean them off, all I do is take a microfiber brush. I don't clean them very often, but every once in a while, if I feel like they're super dirty, I just kind of give them a good rub on here. And then that's it. And then I do store them in the caddy. If you haven't seen the caddy before, this is the caddy. They're in a rainbow color. This is a brush you can put your fingers through and put a little soap on and rub them through. I don't do that very often, only when I feel like they have had really saturation and I haven't cleaned them. I've never cleaned these. I cleaned my oxides for the first time a couple weeks ago. But I really like them. I keep them in rainbow order. They're just so pretty. They're easy to see. Actually, they're out of rainbow order, I just noticed. That's okay. Anyway, and I just keep them on the side of my desk so that these are the ones I use for my dye inks, because I use them the most. Okay, so now back to our card. Before I pull this off, I'm going to use this Sparkle Shimmer Spray by Tuscanezzo. I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's, I bought it online on an online store. I'm not exactly sure, but you can see all the shimmer down in the bottom. I like to try to shake it up and try to get, I'll do that off screen so you don't get seasick or anything. Try to get some of the shimmer mixed up. I don't always get all of it, but I get quite a few of it before I use it. And then I just spritz lightly over my stencil. I do like to take my microfiber cloth that I use, or my napkin, or I have cloth napkins or anything, and kind of wipe off my stencil a little bit before. And then I also like to wipe off around, just because sometimes it gets all wet here. And I'm going to peel this off. I will set my stencil off to the side. And I don't know if you can see the shimmer. Shimmer doesn't always show up on camera, but just the little flowers are all sparkly now. So you can kind of see it maybe even on the purple tape. I usually just take my purple tape off. I use it until it doesn't like to stick anymore. And then I'm going to quickly die cut this to just a little bit smaller than an A2 size card. I'm not going to, I don't know if you can see that on screen, so I will try. It might shake my camera. You can see my plates are very well loved. But I decided I want just a little bit of a smaller size, so I just try to line it up. And I just use some square frames instead of, I don't cut straight all the time. So, and then I'll just use my big shot. Sorry if it shakes the camera. All right. Let me get this out of the way. And you really could, if you wanted to, save this for a frame, I suppose, but I'm going to toss it away. So then what I like to do, what I did with my other card I made today while I was playing around with this, which I just cleaned this off. So I'm going to put some ink on it, and I'm just going to go around the edges a little bit and just give it a little bit of color, not a lot. If I hadn't cleaned off my brush, I would have just used whatever ink was left on my blending brush, but I kind of cleaned them off, so I put a little bit extra on. Just to give it a little color on the edges so it stands out a little bit more against my card base. You can go as heavy or as dark as you want. That's good for me. All right, let's quickly clean this top off here a little bit. Sometimes I just use a little bit of water out of a spray bottle. Wipe it off. Okay, so here's my card base. Let's see, there's a little bit of schmutz on here. Not sure what that's from. I will grab my Mon eraser here. It looks like it's part of the cardstock. Oh, that's okay. We're going to leave it there. We can cover it up if we want. Okay, so I went through my scrapbooking and I found some more craft cardstock, and I just cut it down with a circle die, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in my Misty. And I have this Joy to the World sentiment stamp here. And I don't know if you've seen this before, other people have done it. I use the negative as my base, and then I just put my, this right in the middle, what I want to stamp on. So if I wanted to do multiple, I could just plop them in. You can also stick a piece of purple tape down to hold it, but it holds it pretty well for me. So I'm going to go ahead and use my guava to stamp down my greeting here right in the center. I think I'm going to do it one more time. I tend to buy ink cubes to start. I feel like, I am part of the full set syndrome, but especially if you're just starting out, choose a couple colors you really like. I always say like a red, a yellow, a blue, a black, a purple, maybe, and you can build colors from there. And then as I find my ink cubes dry out, then I will buy the full side pad and the re-inker at that same time, because then I realize that I most likely use that color a lot. But we don't need every color of the rainbow, even though we want them. And so you can start that way, especially if you're on a budget. So, all right, so I'm going to use some embossing powder now, or embossing ink now, because I want a little bit of sparkle on my sentiment to match the sparkle on the background of my card. I'm actually going to stamp it down twice just to make sure my desk is a fold-out desk, so I don't always feel like I get a steady color on them, because it kind of gives. And then move this off to the side, and I'm going to grab my little filter, and I'm going to use some Icicle embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. I like this because it's it's sparkly, and yet it doesn't have color to it, so it will show that guava underneath. I did forget to use my anti-static powder tool. I just realized to this. So we're going to have a lot of I'm going to quickly put this back in so I don't have too much of a mess. Especially this time of year, I have a fan going on in my scrap room here, and it will blow the embossing powder. So because I forgot to do my anti-stack powder tool, I'm going to go through with a brush. And I'm going to just, it's hard to see on camera. It's even hard to see in person, so I kind of have to kind of peek and look and see and just brush off the stuff I don't want. Mostly because it will be shiny and sparkly. If you don't get it all, it's okay, because it is a Christmas card, and you know, Christmas cards should have a ton of glitter on them, right? So I'm going to just check, see if there's any really big spots. And I will quickly, this is one of my favorite things. I do remember the first time I ever did some embossing, I burnt the paper because they didn't know what I was doing, if you can believe that. So I'm going to heat up my heat up my tool a little bit, and then try to get the magic to happen. And this one is hard. A lot of times I hold my piece that I'm heat embossing with a clothespin, but this is kind of small, so there's not a lot of places to grab onto, so it's just as easy to do this. And then sometimes I heat it from the back a little bit to help with warping. Excuse me. And there we go. However, now I gotta let it cool for just a little bit, just a few seconds. Let's just wipe up any stray embossing powder here I have. I got some glue stuck to my mat, it seems. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take my brush again and just come in on the edges. And again, give the edges just a little bit of color, just so it stands out a little bit. And just a little bit there. So now I have already pre-made my A2 size card base out of some craft cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and just grab my liquid glue. You can see all the glitter. I was using glitter earlier. It's on the back of my card here. And I just use some, I like liquid glue because I can't ever do anything straight. And gives me just a little wiggle room. This is really nice glue. I get it online from Simon Says Stamp. It's a craft tacky glue. I like it. You get quite a bit of it and it works really well. You don't need a whole lot. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. Let's see if I can center that the best I can. All right. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up on some foam tape, and I just have some inexpensive foam tape here that I get at one of my local stores. It's not super thick. It's very sticky, so it tends to stick to my scissors, so I try to be careful with that. Let's see, I've got to cut this corner off a little bit more. It's going to show. So I have to clean my scissors when I use this foam tape, but I just try to be careful and try not to have to cut it. Try not to eyeball it too much. It's forgiving a little bit. I can kind of peel it off a little bit before I really push it down. And then I'm just going to peel off the backing. Extra piece there. And I think because I had that little bit of a blob there, I think I'm going to put this down in the corner. I mean, a lot of times we center it. You know, you can do it all different, but I'm going to just put it down right over in this corner because of that little black spot that I don't know what that was. And there, I have just a really basic, pretty card. It can go through the mail. There are some things you can do. You could use some Stickles to give it some green, which is, I think, what I'm going to do because I feel like I know it's only got a couple colors, but what I like to do with my Stickles is take a little scratch something and start it there. Make sure there's no air bubbles in it. This is a Christmas. Let's see, this one is called Holly, so there's some red and green in it. I'm just going to put it in the center of all the little flowers here. Because, you know, I said Christmas cards, you can't have too much. Gotta have more bling, right? Lots of glitter. It's fun for the season. And then I'm going to let that dry. But I'm going to just, there you go. There is my card for this week of a stencil and a stamp. So I will show you, while I was playing, I made some others using the same stencils. Here's the original one I made. I didn't add any of the stickles to it. So there's the difference between the two. I might go back and add some stickles, but I'm going to just leave them for right now. And then I also made this one. And this is just white cardstock with the guava. And then I used whatever's left on my brush just to soften the white. And then I used a scrap piece of vellum with, this is a black ink that I heat embossed. And this is from that stamp set Holiday Florals. And then I just attached it. I folded it over with some tape and taped it on the back. And then I just used some confetti to the centers. And here is another one that I made where I used the guava ink and then I rotated my stencil and I used lime zest ink, and then I used up the last of what was on my ink on my blender brush to soften the edges again. Same thing, this was just a scratch piece of paper with the lime zest, same sentiment from Holiday Florals, and then I used some more of the holiday stickles in the center of those as well. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for subscribing, thumbs upping, comments. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. And if you do anything for Christmas in July, are you making Christmas cards already or not? Or is it too early for you? So thank you again for stopping by. Have a great day. Stay cool. Bye.